Today on the podcast, we are sitting down to go through the entirety of the live-action Disney remakes. Come on in. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Dissect That Film podcast, where we dissect the good, the bad, and the ugly of cinema. I am your host, Brett Parker. Joining me, as always, are my wonderful co-hosts, Dan and Angela of TNA Gaming.
I'm over here like, what the hell is he doing?
Shit, I'm so sorry. I'm just like, you know what? I'm just doing this. I hope he isn't paying attention. I'm so sorry.
Dan's making fun of me because of what I did for the intro for this episode. All right?
No, I was just doing it. It had nothing to do with what you're doing. I'm just doing my own thing. I'm like, you know what? Let's just do it. Why not?
Oh, God. How you guys doing today?
We're good. Doing good.
Good.
Start the episode off with a bang.
So over the last few weeks, we have sat down to talk about individual Disney animated films with their live action remakes. We started off with Beauty and the Beast, the 1991 versus the 2017. Then the week after, we did The Jungle Book, which was the 1967 compared to the 2016. And then last week, we did Mulan, the 1998 compared to the 2020. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to go through every single live-action remake that Disney has done, starting from 1994. And we're going to talk a little bit about them, and then we're going to rank them based on, I guess, how we feel about them. I guess that's how rankings go, right? This is going to be very similar anyone who has listened to the show for a bit. We're going to be doing something similar to what we did with the Friday the 13th episode, where we're going to kind of talk a little bit about each movie and then kind of put them in a ranking. And that's kind of how this episode is going to go about. I'm very excited to do this. So we haven't really done a topic episode in quite a while. If you want to count this as a topic episode, we're not doing an individual movie. We're going to be talking about many. So this is very exciting. So let's get it started. We don't have to talk about what we thought about the movie because we're going to be talking about a lot of them.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Actually, I think we're good here. I'm going to pull up my handy dandy notebook so I can make this list. All right, guys. So back in 1994 was the very first time that they decided they were going to take a property of theirs and make it into live action. And that would be 1994's The Jungle Book, or as it was officially called, it was Rudyard Kipling's The Jungle Book, which stars Jason Scott Lee, who we talked about last week in Mulan, the live action Mulan. He also played Bruce Lee in Enter the Dragon, the Bruce Lee story. This was a film that was the reason we did talk about this in our Jungle Book episode. But the reason we didn't really go into full detail on this movie was because it technically is not a remake of the 67 Jungle Book. It is actually a sequel to that movie in a way, where Mowgli is an adult. He goes away. It's kind of a very Tarzan-like story where it's Mowgli leaving the jungle, but then coming back and kind of reacclimating himself to the jungle. This movie was directed by Stephen Sommers, who would go on to do the Mummy in 1999. He actually did a movie that we're actually going to be covering this year because Dan keeps talking about it. Dan, what's the movie? You're supposed to say it.
It's Deep Rising.
Deep Rising.
Tentacle Justice.
Yes, he actually he also directed G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra, the first one. He did The Mummy Returns, and he did Van Helsing. So he's got some cult classics, and he's got some real stinkers.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would be the director behind this film, and he also wrote the screenplay for it. It's actually based on the second Jungle Book, which is actually the title of the book that Rudyard Kipling wrote after the original. It was literally just called the second Jungle Book.
Oh, okay.
This film stars Jason Scott Lee, Carrie Elways. I don't know if that's exactly how you say his name, but that's how I've always said it. Lena Headey, who is in Game of Thrones, for any of you Game of Thrones fans out there. Carrie Elways, Saw, Princess Bride. He's been in a lot of stuff. Twister. Yes, he's the villain in Twister. Well, how do I forget? Sam Neill was in this. Dr. Grant from Jurassic Park. He was also in Event Horizon, in The Mouth of Madness. And John Cleese, who is one of the guys from Monty Python. He was in a couple of the Harry Potter movies. I mean, he's a comedy legend. I mean, the cast is pretty stacked for this movie. And to be honest, I had only seen it once when I was a kid. And I remember enjoying it. I think it just wasn't as memorable as the animated film. And I think mostly it was because of the cast. But it was also, when I was a kid, this movie was great because it had all real animals in it.
Yeah.
Like everything, before they decided that using exotic animals was probably not the smartest move in Hollywood.
It's fine.
But what do you guys think of this movie? Like, what was your, like, do you remember ever seeing this one?
I remember the trailers. I remember this movie coming out. Like, I remember like previews and stuff, but I never saw it because I never like put two and two together. Like,
right.
It was like Jungle Book was like, it wasn't a big thing for me until I actually was a little bit past this point in my life. Like, I remember seeing it growing up, but it didn't really like take hold until a little bit afterwards. But that's what I'm saying. I'm like, we're talking about the cast here, and I'm just like, why haven't we watched this? I didn't realize Disney did it, because I knew the Jungle Book even when I was a kid. I knew that wasn't Disney's property.
Right.
Technically, it was based on an existing book. I just thought it was somebody else doing it. I had no idea it had any connection to Disney whatsoever.
I remember watching it as a kid. It was definitely one of my grandparents had, the clan book of this one. It wasn't one that I had watched many times. Like, the animated one was definitely the version I would have rather watched as a kid. I don't think I've ever watched this since being a kid. So there's really not a lot we can tell you about this other than this is where it all started. It's very 90s. And the cat, I mean, this is definitely one I feel I should have watched probably for our Jungle Book review, just to kind of see what it was like. But unfortunately, I wasn't watching 4 or 5 movies based on the Jungle Book before that review, when we were only talking about 2 movies. But there it is, guys. This was released on December 25th, so Christmas Day of 1994. It was a budget of $30 million and made about 70. So not so great, but it was, Disney's first foray into, turning a beloved animated film into live action, even though technically wasn't.
Yeah, say a sequel.
So as of right now, we're going to move on to our second movie. We're going to put the Jungle Book in there since it's our only movie so far. Going on to number 2. In November 27th, 1996, John Hughes, the famous John Hughes, the man who wrote many great films such as The Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Home Alone 1 and 2, he would write the script for a live-action film based on a 1961 animated film called 101 Dalmatians. This one was directed by Stephen Herrick, who directed Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. He directed Critters, which was his first film. Yeah, he directed all 3 of the Bill and Ted movies. 3 Musketeers in 1993. I'm going to shout that out because our good friends over at the Quad Pro Quo podcast covered that movie, so I figured I'd shout them out. Mr. Holland's Opus, Rockstar, and then he kind of just went off. Actually, I lied. He only directed Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure in 1989. He did not direct the other 2.
This seems like a really interesting repertoire to be like, these are the movies this guy did. Let's have him do 101 Dalmatians.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just doesn't scream like, this is our pick. but maybe they just wanted somebody different.
I'm not gonna lie to you though. I did not know this was written by John Hughes. I watched this a couple days ago, and they always have the opening crawl of the director, producers, all that stuff, and I saw it written by John Hughes, and I was like, wait a minute, I know that man. I know his work.
He makes movies.
He makes good movies. So this one stars Glenn Close, who, to be honest, she is fantastic as Cruella de Vil.
Yes.
Jeff Daniels, a couple years out from Dumb and Dumber. So you knew he had some comedy chops, even though he wasn't full comedy in this movie. You knew he could do it. Of course, he's also in Arachnophobia. He's been in a lot of things. Jolie Richardson, who played, I can't remember the characters' names here. Nita. You also have Hugh Laurie, House, who plays Jasper. You have Mark Williams, who played Horace, he was Ron Weasley's father in the Harry Potter movies. And guess what, guys? Frank Welker was in this movie.
Of course,
he was the dog barks, pretty much. He literally credited as Pongo and Perdita creature sounds.
Yep.
Frank Welker,
you can't have a real dog sound. You have to
do they not have like a sound archive? Like, let's get a dog barking.
Man, making some easy money.
I wonder if just all the. I got a question. Maybe they do have a sound archive, and it's all just Frank Welker.
It's all Frank Welker.
It's just like various animals Frank Welker has done. And you just we'll use this one. This is a good sample.
Yeah.
I remember. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I watched this the other day, and I was like, "Wait a minute! I've seen Jolie Richardson before on Nip Tuck." I'm like, she doesn't sound like that, and I had to look her up. She really does have a British accent.
She's from England,
and I was like, "What?"
Yeah, she's the daughter of actually famous actress Vanessa Redgrave.
Well, there you go.
I have no idea who that is.
She's an actress who's been around since I think the early 60s.
Okay.
Yeah, she's been in a lot
of
stuff.
I know.
But yeah, I thought that was cool. Didn't know Hugh Laurie was in it. I was like, wait a minute, House is in this?
See, because I remember seeing this when I was a kid, and I remember enjoying it. And I like the movie. But it's just like, you don't realize because you're a kid. I didn't really keep up with movies as much back then, so that's really funny.
Yeah.
I always remember Glenn Close, though. Yeah, she did a great job.
Yeah, this was definitely a favorite of mine growing up. I loved this version. I feel like I watched this version more than I watched the animated one. Even though the animated one is fantastic, but it also came out during the 60s, which the 60s, a lot of Disney movies that came out in the 60s were not as popular or like didn't do as well as everything that came before or after. That decade didn't really was kind of the low end of Disney until probably the 80s. The 80s is that really hurt Disney up until The Little Mermaid came out.
Yeah. I know they had a bad run in the 80s, like the Black Cauldron and shit like that.
Yeah, they were trying to go with some really dark stuff, even though I feel Disney's always dove into the dark in a lot of their stories. But Black Cauldron was like something completely different. Like, what are you doing right now? Like, this is...
I've seen that movie. It's just been a long time. But
I mean, that's also when The Great Mouse Detective came out, which is one of my favorite Disney movies. That came out in, I think, 86. I mean, they also had a horror legend in that movie with Vincent Price. So, but this movie, as I stated, came out November 18th, 1996 in New York City, November 24th in Hollywood, and November 27th in the United States. It had a budget of $67 million and made $320.7 million. Also, it spawned a sequel, 102 Dalmatians, which would come out a few years later, bringing back the core cast pretty much. And I guess if that story was Cruella, she's been in the mental institution and she wants to like now be a dog advocate. She wants to protect the dogs. But then her like real self like breaks through and she becomes the full-fledged villain again. And it's not a bad sequel, but to be honest, this is the one of the lowest on Rotten Tomatoes.
Really?
Yeah. This is lower than some movies on the remake list that it shouldn't be. This is one of my favorite live action Disney movies. I think it's very loyal to the source material. Of course, this is based on a book before it became a movie, as most Disney properties are. But I think it really follows along with the animated feature. Just, of course, it's more modern because that one took place in the 60s. This one takes place in the 90s where it takes place. I think Jeff Daniels and Jolie Richardson are great in this, playing our two main characters. And I love Hugh Laurie and was it Mark Williams as Jasper and Horace. I thought they did really well.
Yeah.
This is but here's the funny thing about this movie, and I think a lot of people might see it when they watch it as an adult. This is 101 Dalmatians / Home Alone. It's very Home Alone, and of course John Hughes wrote Home Alone, so it's like it kind of bled into it, because that whole final act where it's the dogs setting up traps for Jasper and Horace and for Cruella. Yeah, it's interesting, and it feels very Home Alone like.
And I want to do a special shout out here because I did not realize who she played in this movie, but now I know later. Joan Plowright. Joan Plowright. You're right. Sorry, I said her name wrong.
But the nanny?
She does the nanny. Yes. Well, she did Baleen in Dinosaur, which was the Brachiosaurus.
Oh, okay.
I love her in that movie.
That's literally
other things too.
That's literally what she's credited for. She's literally credited as nanny.
Yep. Yeah. That's it. Just nanny.
Yep.
You don't get any more than that, damn it.
But
she was in Last Action Hero.
Yeah, I remember seeing her face in a lot of things. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right. So, is this one better than the '94 Jungle Book?
Since it's not based on Jungle Book.
I know. I still figure we put it in the rankings.
Oh, okay.
So unjustly, we hadn't seen it.
So, seen it.
Have you?
This one?
No, Jungle Book.
Oh,
the '94 Jungle Book.
The '94 Jungle Book. I have to say this one's better just because I've seen it and I just recently saw it and I love everybody that's in it. And I thought it was good, but I've not seen.
Based on my recollection, excuse me, I'd rather watch this than I would the original animated Dalmatians.
Yeah, I gotta agree. As much as I do enjoy the original animated film, the main difference, I think, the main reason I think I like the animated version slightly more than this one, even though I think I would watch this one more, is the dogs talk in the animated version, which is fine that they don't talk in this, because I hate live action animals talking. Like, I hate when you just like see lips moving, blah, blah, and especially since they actually use especially since they actually use real dogs in this, where like when we talked about the Jungle Book and we talked about, the Jungle Book is probably the best example because they had everything was animals talking. They're all CG, so you can actually fluently make them talk without it just feeling weird. Where when you watch a movie, I'm trying to think of like a good example of like real animals, but then they have their lips like they have like the CG talking, and I'm like, oh god, that's just that's rough.
The only
does Air Bud talk?
Sure, I
don't think Air Bud ever talked in those movies.
The only animal that can get away with that is Mr. Ed.
Excuse me a moment.
Yes, I love it, Mr. Ed.
You know what? I'm gonna make an executive decision right now. We are gonna erase the Jungle Book 1994 because we're just gonna talk about the live action remakes that actually are loyal and go by the rules of their animated counterparts. So 94 Jungle Book, get out of here.
Sorry, 94 Jungle Book fans.
We talked about your movie for a little bit.
We did. We acknowledged its existence.
Also, speaking of 101 Dalmatians, we did get a Cruella de Vil prequel a few years ago with Emma Stone playing Cruella, which was actually really good. I thoroughly enjoyed Cruella. We're not going to count that on our list, but I do want to talk about it a little bit because I think it's a very well-made movie, a very well-made prequel story, and I'm looking forward to. I believe they're supposed to be making a sequel to it. which will kind of blend into 101 Dalmatians and her kind of turning fully evil. So yeah, I just wanted to shout that one out.
I
I'm ready
remember
to start watching that, and then I'm like, no, I need to watch the others.
I remember that movie coming out, the Cruella, whatever it is. I remember that coming out, and I remember like some of the people I knew that I worked with had seen it and just shit all over it. Like I just remember it being like, I don't know, I never watched it. I don't know. I can only go by anecdotal evidence and hearsay. But it was just like or just story of like she hates dogs because dogs killed her mom or some shit like that. And I'm just like,
Yeah. So, spoilers.
Sorry, guys.
Cruella DeVille in that movie, yeah, her mom gets killed by Dalmatians, but it's because of the owner of the dogs. Like she trains her dogs to pretty much literally bite people, like attack people, and literally like pushed her off a cliff. So it was more of like a revenge.
Didn't listen.
Yeah.
To her mom.
It was more of like a revenge tale against the owner of the dogs, and then I don't know where it goes from there. But it takes place in the 60s. It's her probably in her early 20s, mid 20s, I think. I thought it was fun. I thought it was a good time. Good. I mean, Emma Stone. I love Emma Stone whenever she does, and who's the actress who plays the villain in that movie? I think it was Emma Thompson. Emma Thompson. We talked about her Beauty of the Beast, the remake of that. She played the villain, and she's another one who can really do anything.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize she was the villain in that.
Yep.
Two Emmas. Emma versus Emma. I don't know.
So in 1998, we got a Jungle Book, a movie that was more true to the Jungle Book animated film, but I think it was more true to the story that Rudyard Kipling wrote. It was called The Jungle Book, Mowgli's Story. We're not going to really talk about that one. Then we got 102 Dalmatians in 2000. And then our next full-on remake wouldn't be until 2010 when Tim Burton would helm Alice in Wonderland, which is based on the 1951 animated film. This came out in February 25th, 2010 in the UK and March 5th, 2010 in the United States with $150 to $200 million budget. Ooh. And it made $1.025 billion.
See why?
Yeah, this movie is legit the reason we are getting all these remakes. Clearly, like, yes, 101 Dalmatians made good money. Made $320 million off of like a 45, what did I say? 45, 60. It was like between 45 and $60 million budget. So that's pretty good. That's a pretty good turnout. Even if you count all of the promotions and stuff, because it was probably pushed a lot. But the fact is they didn't really do another full remake until, 15 years later? 14, 15 years later? So the fact that they literally were like, all right, we're going to bring on a well-known director. This is Alice in Wonderland, if you've ever seen the animated film from 1951, it's trippy. The story is trippy. The original animated film is trippy. So, of course, you got to bring in a director who is good at making these trippy type of movies. And who better than Tim Burton? The problem is this is when we started to get so much CGI. CGI just exploded on your screen on these movies. And, of course, that's why you get these massive budgets, $150 to $200 million. I think that's the largest budget Tim Burton has ever had in his entire career. Like, I don't think he's ever gotten even close to that. If you go through his filmography, I mean, most of his movies were made for like maybe $50 to $75 million at most, because a lot of his movies were, I mean, they weren't considered independent, but they weren't this. Like, we talked about Edward Scissorhands and how hard it was for him to get that made, and how hard it was to get just enough money to make that movie, even though he had already done 2 other movies. So the fact that he was given $200 million, damn, that's wild.
Yes.
But it made $1 billion, so I guess it worked out.
Allegedly, yes.
Yeah, I mean, definitely got mixed reviews. Well, let's go around and talk about Alice in Wonderland. Angela, what were your thoughts on this movie?
Can you not?
I'm putting you on.
I know. For the most part, I enjoyed it just because it's based on dreams.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like it was more like unrealistic because it's dreams. So that kind of fed into the
motif of the story of it being trippy and weird.
Yeah, it's supposed to be trippy and weird. So yeah, it's supposed to not be
caterpillar doing drugs and shit. Yeah.
I mean, you have a cat that disappears and just leaves a smile behind. I mean, but I love Tim Burton. I love Helena Bonham Carter. What did I just say?
Did you just say Helena?
Tim Burton.
Helena. No, what did I say before?
You said Tim Burton. You said you love
Tim Burton. Johnny Depp. My brain is like, there's so much going on with all of that I've watched.
I know this episode is definitely one where we had to do a lot more watching. Like usually it's one movie a week, and it's like, okay, guys, we're gonna be talking about 12 movies.
I have binged like 4 movies in the last 2 days. So I'm going through all the files in my brain, and it's not.
Dragons.
No.
Jabberwocky.
The only thing that I did not like, I didn't like Alice. I didn't like the portrayal of Alice in it.
Okay.
I just don't, because I don't think I liked Alice from the animated one.
So to kind of just jump in on that, so I know that this technically isn't this kind of is what that 94 Jungle Book is, because technically this is a sequel to the original 51 animated film, because it's her as a teenager, because throughout the movie they actually talk about how she's already been there before, which means that it's talking about her first time going from the 51 film, because she's a lot older and there's other things that happen. Like it doesn't really go beat for beat, but it's to the core, this is a remake of the original film, just they kind of tweak some things. So I get why you might dislike Alice, because it's not really the same Alice, but I guess you didn't like the Alice from the original, so I guess it's just Alice.
It was just because she was so willing to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like
you mean like drugs?
The whole eat me, drink me thing.
Right.
Like she was just so willing to do this, and I'm like,
she'd never survive through college these days.
I'm like, girl, you need to step back there and take just a minute to think about what you're doing.
I agree.
I don't like this movie.
You and many people.
Tim Burton. That's exactly right, because it's fucking Tim Burton. All right, listen, I'm gonna tell you this right now. I've said this before many times. I'm not a fan of Tim Burton's style. He has stuff I like. We've talked about movies of his that I like.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't care for this movie. I think I don't like Johnny Depp in this movie. I don't like his portrayal of the Mad Hatter, because it reminds me too much of his fucking portrayal of fucking Willy Wonka, and I don't like that movie either.
That movie is nightmares. Okay, I can't wait to cover it. I can't wait to cover that movie.
I don't. I'm sorry. Like, we had fucking Gene Wilder. To me, is Willy Wonka. I'm sorry, and I just can't do the Johnny Depp thing. I'm sorry. He's a great actor.
Don't get me wrong. I love Johnny Depp as an actor.
I do too.
That is one I watch and I go, "What happened? Where were we going with this?"
Exactly, but not to deviate too much.
That's nightmare fuel.
Yes,
absolutely.
I have seen this movie with you. We watched this together. Been a little bit, but
yeah, it's been a long time.
For some odd reason, when we were starting this, I wanted to call the Jabberwocky the Gobblecock, and I know that's not right, but that's just where I was at, because it's me.
Yes.
But if I do recall correctly, is it not Christopher Lee?
Yes, it is. Yep.
That
he is the voice of the
best
Jabberwocky.
Yep. It's the best fucking thing about this movie.
I'm going to jump into to the Jabberwocky talk. because there's a song by Korn called Thoughtless. And there is a part where he no joke, says Jabberwocky like 15 times. And so every time I'd hear that song, I'd watch Alice in Wonderland. I'm like, I just want to hear Thoughtless, the Korn song, play as she's fighting the Jabberwocky.
I love it. That's great.
What's going on, everybody? It's Brett from the future. So I figured I would correct myself in something that I stated just about a few seconds ago about a lyric from the song Thoughtless by Korn. I thought for years that he was saying Jabberwocky and never looked at the lyrics. And so that's why I said what I said. But unfortunately for me, because I don't do enough research before I say anything, I figured I would show you or tell you the actual lyrics to the song, or at least for that part where it sounds like he's saying Jabberwocky. He literally says, I've got my body back against the wall. And he says that a lot, but he says it in such a way that it sounds like Jabberwocky, and it just implanted in my brain, and that's what I always thought he was saying. So my apologies to all you mega Korn fans out there. I've never looked at these lyrics until yesterday when I was editing this episode. So I fixed it. I corrected my mistake. I know it's not the only mistake I've probably made in any of these episodes, but I figured, I'd fix this one. So, all right, back to the episode.
Because they never talk about the Jabberwocky or at least they don't show it.
No,
right? The old one, I don't remember that.
Listen, I never read the book, so I can't say, oh yeah, it was in the book. But I don't know.
I'm not a fan of this. All in all, I'm not going to prattle on about this. I'm not a fan. I'm sure there's something in it outside of Christopher Lee that I liked, but it has that Tim Burton aesthetic to it. Yeah. And it's just whatever. It's not a movie for me.
It is in the book.
Okay.
It was introduced in the sequel.
Yes. Novel. And so there was a sequel to this movie that came out, I think, pretty decent time later.
A couple years, wasn't it?
Into the Alice Through the Looking Glass came out in 2016. So 6 years after Alice in Wonderland came out, they made a sequel. It was not that good. Tim Burton didn't come back to direct it. He was part of his production team, and he was a producer, but it was a really messy movie.
Probably.
Yeah.
But I remember not liking that one either. So
I love it.
This movie is definitely one I don't go back to. I haven't seen it in quite a while. I do remember I did watch it a lot when it first came out. I know that when I worked at Walmart, we used to play movies in our TVs, just kind of show off how nice the TVs were. And this was a visually, I think this movie looked good visually. And so we used to play this movie all the time. And Johnny Depp's performance as the Mad Hatter, I definitely wouldn't put it near this Willy Wonka. His Willy Wonka performance is the worst performance of his career. That movie is horrifying. His voice just haunts me in my dreams. And that movie is a fucking nightmare. That is legit a horror movie, and it wasn't made to be. This was definitely... He definitely wanted to do his own little twist to what the Mad Hatter was in the animated film. He still, of course, because he actually, when he was researching to do this role, he actually read up on people who suffered from mercury poisoning, which is what the Mad Hatter suffers from, because he's a hat maker and they used mercury to make hats back in those times. And so the mercury would fuck with your, you would get mercury poisoning, and they call it was like, I can't remember the exact diagnosis, but pretty much it make you go mad. And so there was a lot of people in mental institutions that were, suffering from that. So that's where that performance came in, where you have the quirky, like, whoa, like out there mixture of like Jack Sparrow and Willy Wonka. And then you have him kind of snapping out of it, where he's very serious and he changes his accent. Like, I feel like that was the real him before he goes mad. So he's kind of suffering from like schizophrenia.
Interesting. Yeah.
Because when he changes his persona, he doesn't know about the other side. He doesn't know about the wacky version of himself.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the thing about Johnny Depp. I think he puts a lot of heart into his performances. I think he does a lot of research into trying to create these very unique characters, even though some of them are just way out there. It's definitely not one of my favorites, but I I enjoyed what he tried to do. We have Mia Wasikowska, who played Alice. She was somewhat of a newcomer when she got the role as Alice, and then she would go, she was in like Crimson Peak by Guillermo del Toro. Later on, she's done a lot of things since this came out. We got Helena Bonham Carter as the Red Queen, and it's wild to think that this movie back in 2010 could do the big head effect better than a Marvel movie that came out in 2023. I'm sorry for anyone who watches Ant-Man Quantumania and went, oh man, what's his name? What's that character? MODOK? Oh yeah, he looks fine. No, he looks fucking stupid. I'm sorry. I'm gonna be that guy. He looks so fucking dumb.
Dude, I agree 100%. I didn't even see the movie. Like, I literally seen the CG for the movie. I'm like, fuck that. I'm out.
Yeah.
Like, dude, it's MODOK. Look how he looks in the comic book. It's not a regular dude's fucking face that's big. That's not how it is. Why was that? You're right. This is what we're gonna do, guys. This is the ticket. Like, I'm not.
Yeah,
no,
but that I just wanted to point that out
No.
because I thought the effect of her head being bigger than her body was really cool. It was definitely a lot different than we saw in the animated film, where it was just she was just a woman. We have Anne Hathaway as the White Queen. She was the one performance I was like, ugh, I'm not a fan of what she was doing with this character.
If I remember, I didn't like how she talked.
Yes, I agree. She manipulated her voice in a way that I was just like, ooh, it's very off-putting. Crispin Glover, this was one I didn't like because they CG'd most of his body. So they wanted him to look, he's the knight, he's the Nav of Hearts, or he's Stain, as they call him in the movie. And he literally, I believe his legs and his arms are CG so that he looks like a tougher character. It's just really weird, man. It's really off-putting. We have Matt Lucas as Tweedledee and Tweedledum. I actually thought they were fine. We have some great voice performances too. We have Michael Sheen as the White Rabbit. We have Alan Rickman as the Caterpillar, who was a perfect casting for that role because of the way he was so monotone and it just fit perfectly. Barbara Windsor as the Dormouse. Did we talk about her in a movie? I don't know. I'm not going to go too deep into that. Timothy Spall as the dog. He was like the big, he was the bloodhound. We have Paul Whitehouse as the Marsh Hare. We have Michael Goff as the Dodo. The late, oh no, not Michael Goff. Yeah, the late Michael Goff, who played Alfred in the Batman movies. Christopher Lee as the Jabberwocky. Mm-hmm. And Imelda Staunton as the Talking Flowers. If anybody doesn't know who Imelda Staunton is, she played Dolores Umbridge, one of the most evil characters in the Harry Potter films. And I think she shows up in the fifth one? Yeah. Yep. And guess what, guys? Guess what? Guess who's in this movie?
Frank Welker?
Yes, he is.
Is he the dog?
He is the roar of the Jabberwocky and the Bandersnatch.
Nice.
Squawks of the Jub bird. And Bayard's barking.
Okay.
Rickman, Windsor, Fry, Goff, Lee, Staunton, and Carter each took only a day to record their dialogue.
Because they're that fucking
badass. Stephen Fry is the Cheshire Cat. I forgot to mention his name. But yeah, it's not a terrible movie. It definitely, I don't think, has aged too well. I think I would prefer watching the animated film over this one. But I like the direction that Tim went with. Instead of it just being a carbon copy of the original, it was, hey guys, watch the original and then watch this. This is kind of a sequel to that, where it's still kind of the similar adventure, but everybody's like, oh my God, it's Alice. Like, everyone remembers her, but she doesn't remember anything. And her trying to rediscover it.
She's like, oh, I'm good now.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're now at the end. Is this better than 101 Dalmatians?
Fuck no.
No.
All right. So our first two are ranked, even though we are almost 40 minutes into this episode. We've only talked about two movies. the next one we're going to talk about, because it's based on a segment of a movie. We're going to talk a little bit about The Sorcerer's Apprentice, which came out in 2010. It was based on a segment from Fantasia from 1940, which was one of the big ones. That was the one where Mickey Mouse, with his cool wizard outfit, is making the brooms dance around. Well, this one was a full-fledged live action version with Nicolas Cage and Jay Baruchel. It was directed by John Turteltaub, who would do the National Treasure movies. And yeah, have you guys ever seen this one?
No,
I didn't know it existed.
All right, so we won't talk about it too much, and we won't add it to the ranking because we didn't really. It's based on a segment of Fantasia, but I thought I'd shout it out. I remember it being a fun movie. I don't know how it holds up now, 13 years later, but it's Nicolas Cage being a crazy wizard. So, I mean, what's not to love about that? And I like John Turteltaub. I think he's a fun director. Like I said, he's done some good movies. Like I said, he did the National Treasure movies. He did Three Ninjas, which was actually his first one. Cool Runnings. Disney's The Kid, and he directed The Meg.
Oh, okay.
Which was fun. All right, well, we're going to go on to the next one. Our next one, which we're going to talk about fully, because this is technically a remake of a Disney animated film, but it's from the perspective of the villain, which I thought was fun. We're going to talk about Maleficent from 2014. So Maleficent, based on Maleficent, of course, is the villain of Sleeping Beauty. So this is technically a retelling of Sleeping Beauty, but from Maleficent's point of view. This was directed by Robert Stromberg, who literally directed. This was his only direct. He only directed this one. I can't talk.
That's it?
Yeah. He directed this. He did work with James Cameron on Avatar, Tim Burton on Alice in Wonderland, Sam Raimi on Oz the Great and Powerful, which we're not going to count, which I'm going to mention that now. That is a remake. Technically, that's a sequel or a prequel to The Wizard of Oz, but The Wizard of Oz wasn't Disney, so it doesn't count.
Okay.
But yeah, this is the only film he ever directed. It stars Angelina Jolie as our main character. We have Sharlto Copley, who was in like District 9. He was in the what was that TV show where the guys all in the van, the black van? A-Team. A-Team.
Yeah. Yes. I was like, who the fuck are you talking about? Hold on, keep going down.
He was in Chappie. He was in the last show that he's actually on a show now called Powers, which is on, I believe, Amazon Prime.
No, I think I know another movie this guy may have been in.
We have Elle Fanning, who plays Aurora. We got Sam Riley. We got Imelda coming back, Staunton, who plays one of the Pixie Fairies. Juno Temple, who plays another one.
Yeah, okay. He was in Elysium. That's what I remember him from. Good. Sorry.
Neil Blomkamp directed those movies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And yeah, that's about it for the cast there. This movie had a budget of between $180 and $263 million. A
lot of money.
Holy shit. It only, but based on whatever the actual budget was, it made $758.3 million. It was released May 30th, 2014. And what are your guys' have you guys seen this movie? And what are your thoughts on it?
I love it. I thought Angelina Jolie did great as a villain.
Mm-hmm.
Elle Fanning is good. Villain, yes, I know. I am one of those that loves the story of the villain to why they become the way they are.
Right. Like Cruella.
And like Cruella, yes. Mm-hmm. I love the backstory behind not just saying that they're bad because they were born to be bad. I hate that. I hate that saying. But I also love Lana Del Rey's version of Once Upon a Dream. That's my. I listen to that all the time.
One thing I do love about these live action remakes is when they bring in like these huge artists to kind of reimagine very popular songs from the movies, because some of them are most of them are really good. You get some that aren't as done well because they gotta like hip hop it, and you're like, oh no, that's not what that's meant to do. Yeah. Twist it. Pull it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh.
But yeah, no, go on. Yeah, go on, Angela.
It's definitely one of those. I actually have not watched it again since I watched it the first time. I do want to rewatch it. Yeah. I loved it. And I will put it higher than the animated.
That's cheating.
No.
That's cheating. You can't do that. We're not even rating. You're jumping ahead.
I don't care.
No, she just said that it's better. She likes it better than the animated version.
Yeah,
we haven't gotten to the list, Dan. We haven't gotten into the ranking yet.
I know, but I'm like, dude, the horse is still at the stable, and the cart's 3/4 of a mile down the road.
I'm running with it.
Apparently, fuck.
No, and I think Elle Fanning is a great actress.
Yes, she's
like
very
her sister.
Good.
She's good,
and she just gets better and better every time I see her in something new. I'm like, damn, she has become a great actress.
Like, I have the trailer from Maleficent going, and it's just seeing Angelina Jolie's smile.
Oops.
Yeah,
I love it.
Dan.
I unplugged myself. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me?
Is it my turn?
Yes.
Yeah, I can now.
Okay.
I was just like sitting here. I was like tugging it. It's like, whoops.
Tugging the wrong thing.
I know. I'm so used to it. But anyway, tugging something. No, you got to go under the leg. Under the leg. Dutch rudder. Anyway,
oh Lord.
Anyway, no, seriously. In all seriousness, okay. So this movie, I have things to say about this movie. Okay, what's that about?
Because you always have things.
It's like that eye sass you do. No, seriously. This is recalling my last time seeing it, which was with her. This was a really good movie. I really enjoyed it. I know why they did what they did, but I also I see what you're saying, that you want a reason behind it, but like, she's not really a villain. That's why I said villain. Like, they sympathize because she's the main character, and you can't have your main character just be a piece of shit the whole movie. What do you mean you could? But Disney's not going to do it. So you got to give a reason. It's like, hey, dogs killed my mom, and then she has a different motivation. Like, her kingdom. She was, what was it? Spoiler alert: she was like fucked over by the man she loved.
So
right?
the king,
falls
in love with her. And it was like, because he took her wings, he cut her wings off because she's a fairy technically. And he like, while she was sleeping, he cut her wings off.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't, I don't think he was king yet. It was like, in order for him to become the king or something, it was some task his father had made him do. He
used it to become king because he brought in her wings. Yes. That's right.
Yeah.
So like,
gorgeous. The whole thing, like her whole head to toe.
She does great.
Even when she had her wings.
Yeah, her body language is great too. Like, she just does a great job. I like the dude we were just talking about, Charlton Copley, or however you say his name is. I like how he talks. I just like how that man talks. He could just speak to me, and I'd be completely content. Like, in every movie I've ever seen him in, I just like the way he. What now?
Zelda.
Kind of, not quite to there, but I just like the way. But I liked it. It was a cool an hour and 37 minutes. So it wasn't a long movie. I remember it being visually very nice to look at. If I remember, it felt stuck very close to the original story while building a bit more because you're focusing on a different character. So you have a little more going on.
The other side of what's going on.
But yeah, I thought that was great. I actually really enjoyed it. Did we watch it in theaters? Or did we watch it?
We watched it at home.
Okay, I couldn't remember. But yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I thought this was a great retelling. Because, Sleeping Beauty is definitely not one I'm not going to say I dislike it. It's definitely not one I would go back to and watch.
Yeah,
it was kind of boring, to be honest. It really not a lot goes on in that movie.
Just the dragon at the end. That's what it's all about.
To be honest, it kind of is on the same like level as like Snow White and Seven Dwarfs. The only reason I like that movie is because that was the first Disney animated movie, and I like the innovation and like what they could do back then. But like the story is just kind of meh.
Yeah.
Same as Sleeping Beauty. And so the fact that they took the most interesting character from that original story and made her the focal point and gave her this whole backstory on why she's evil, I loved it. I love the fact that she, even though she is the villain in Sleeping Beauty, she's not the villain in this movie. She becomes a villain because of what has been done to her. And it's not just some like the dude just falls out of love with her or like runs away from her. No, this man cuts off her wings while she's sleeping. For one, why? How are you not waking up? Did he like drug her or something? Okay, yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
Something in her drink or something. Yeah. They were doing something in the not the woods, but like near the castle or wherever he was at.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just love this whole backstory. Angelina Jolie's performance is, in my eyes, spectacular. Like, I don't say that about a lot of people. I think she was meant to play this role. Also, fun fact, Aurora as a baby or like as a toddler, that was Angelina Jolie's actual daughter.
Very cool.
Yeah. As we said, Sharlto Copley, he's good pretty much in anything, even in the movies that are probably as good. Elle Fanning, like Angela was saying, she's great, and she just keeps getting better and better every time. Yeah, and I actually like Sam Riley. He's the one who plays the crow or the raven that she can turn into human form.
Oh, yeah. I remember him. Yeah.
But overall, this is a lot of fun. I definitely got to go back and rewatch again. I did watch it a couple years ago when the second one came out, Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, which came out in 2019. I remember kind of rewatching the first one to kind of know what the hell was happening. And that one was fun too, the sequel. I thought that one continued the character growth because you're seeing the relationship between Maleficent and Aurora is a lot stronger, and then you have to go through some more turmoil with the kingdom. It's a lot of fun. So, with that being said, where are we putting this one on the list? We have 101 Dalmatians and Alice in Wonderland so far.
It's got to be the top of the list for me.
All right. So at number, we're putting Maleficent.
We have to watch that because Sis would like it.
Maleficent?
Yep.
Yeah, she'd really like it.
I just spelled the name wrong. Maleficent. I think I spelled it right. It's okay. No one's going to see my writing.
A werewolf. She can now be a evil queen.
Evil fairy queen with warlock witch wizard thing.
All right. On to our fourth film that is going to be part of our rankings, and that is 2015's Cinderella. This was directed by Kenneth Branagh, who directed Thor. He's directed those like Murder on the Orient Express and Murder on the Nile or Death on the Nile. He's directed a lot of movies. He's done Hamlet, a lot of things. Just look him up. He's an actor and a director. And I completely forgot he actually directed this movie. It was written by Simon Kinberg, who wrote a lot of the X-Men movies. So,
oh boy.
Yeah.
Depending on which ones, that might not be a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he was a producer on actually he directed Dark Phoenix, which is the best one, right, Dan?
Sure, why not? Nope, probably not. But go ahead.
What do you mean? No, he has done. He was actually his first writing credit. Oh Lord, was X-Men State of the Union with Ice Cube. He would write X-Men: The Last Stand, Jumper, 2009's Sherlock Holmes, which I like. He was a producer on X-Men First Class, but he didn't write it.
First Class was good.
He did write Days of Future Past, which is probably one of my favorite X-Men movies. I think that's a good fantastic. He did write, though, the 2015 Fantastic Four. He wrote 4 films in 2015. He only wrote 1, but he was a producer on 4 films in 2015. He wrote Fantastic Four and then was a producer on Cinderella, Chappie, and The Martian. He wrote X-Men Apocalypse, Dark Phoenix, and last year's The 355.
No idea.
Yeah. Not a lot of people watch that one, but it has a good cast. It's on Netflix, I think.
Okay.
So, cast. Cate Blanchett playing the evil stepmother, which great casting because Cate Blanchett can literally do anything. Lily James, who plays Cinderella, or Ella, I think is technically what her name is, and Cinderella is the nickname that she is given by the evil stepmother because her face is always covered in cinders because she sleeps by the fireplace. Did you know that was the origin of Cinderella?
Yeah.
If you didn't,
No.
you know now.
Dude, I'll be frank with you. I didn't even know this movie fucking existed until like you brought it up. I was like, they remade that?
Yeah.
They all.
Yeah, they're all. I know.
Actors.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
I know.
They got Richard Madden. He was in the Eternals. He was in Game of Thrones. I didn't watch Game of Thrones, but I know he was in Game of Thrones.
Good.
We have Helena Bonham Carter, who's back again as the fairy godmother.
See, Disney is just like a lot of the kaiju films that we have watched, the Godzilla ones. You sign that contract, and they're like, "Hey, you're gonna be in this movie."
Yeah,
and
Yep.
you have no choice but to say, "Okay."
Yeah, in Japan, some of those you were just like tied to a studio, not necessarily just a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How they used to do their films,
it-
or something
it-
along those lines.
It's the same. Like they're in so many different movies.
Another Game of Thrones alum, Nonzo Anozie, who played the captain, who was Richard Madden's like right hand man guy, and Stellan Skarsgård's in this movie. Played the Grand Duke.
I was just saying, I was like, they're all actors, like all his kids.
Yep.
It's his legion of children.
Yeah. But yeah, not really a lot to talk about with Cinderella. I'm not gonna lie to everybody here listening or watching. I didn't watch this movie because I was trying to get through all these. And guess what? This is the only live action Disney movie not on Disney Plus. And you can't get it on any streaming service. So you had to rent it. And I said, nah, I'm good. So I just went on YouTube and watched some videos that went through the plot of this movie. And to be honest, other than Cate Blanchett's performance as who I think is just phenomenal, being she literally could be anything. This movie is just nothing too special about this movie. It's visually, it is nice. The performances are pretty good, but overall, there's not a huge difference between the original and this one, and the original is far superior to this. And as we go along, I think it's going to be that way. So yeah, Cinderella, not a lot to talk about other than one more thing. It was released on March 13th, 2015 in the United States and March 27th in the UK. It had a $84 to a $95 million budget and made $542.4 million.
Well, they got a couple bucks out of it.
Yeah. And so that's what they're like, let's do some more, guys. So
dude, listen, I'm going to tell you my thing I always remember about Cinderella is when the mice and stuff are singing about making Cinderella's dress.
Which they don't talk in this one.
Fuck that.
Because that's what they do. With these live action remakes, if there are talking animals, other than the Jungle Book, if there are talking animals, they just make them animals. So they don't talk anymore.
Yeah, they did something different with the Lion King, and that didn't fucking pan out. But anyway, we'll talk about that in a minute.
I can't wait to. I'm just going to warn everybody listening. When we get to the Lion King, it's not going to be a good time, probably for your ears. So Cinderella, where are we ranking this one?
We didn't watch it.
Okay, so I guess we have to put it at the bottom for now.
I've only seen the one with Whitney Houston and Brandy.
Yeah, there's a lot of versions of Cinderella out there. And even just going through that like plot breakdown from I was on YouTube, I watched Everything Wrong with Cinderella from CinemaSins, so I want to shout them out.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Just shit on the movie even more.
Yeah.
Like, fuck it.
I mean, I was watching it. I just wanted to say I wasn't really listening to what he was saying in his just CinemaSins. If you don't want a movie that is actually good to be just torn down, don't listen to CinemaSins because they will take any movie that you love and just destroy it.
I watched one of theirs one time.
Very entertaining though.
Oh no.
Yeah.
No.
Very entertaining.
There's a couple of times I was like, I'm just gonna stop it, and then I'm like, no, I'm already this far in. I gotta watch it.
Getting so angry right now.
No.
So yeah, we're gonna rank Cinderella on the bottom. I'm sorry, everybody. We were gonna watch all of the movies. We did. This was the only one we couldn't get to because I wasn't paying to watch it.
Unjustly, but we don't give a shit. No offense to people who liked it.
If you like it, cool. If you agree with us, okay.
So here's what I'm gonna ask people in the comments, somewhere on the internet. Let us know why this isn't on Disney Plus. I want to know why it's not on there. I'm not gonna look it up.
I looked it up. It was distribution rights.
Fuck! Don't do this to me, Parker. Just let the people talk.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just kidding.
Because I looked it up when I couldn't find it. I was like, why is it not on Disney Plus? And I said, because there's a battle, but for distribution rights. I'm like, it was on Disney Plus because I know my wife and kids watched. I walked in and my wife and kids were watching it on Disney Plus, so it was there. So it must have recently been taken off. I don't know.
Oh no.
Okay, next up is The Jungle Book. We're not going to go into that because we have a whole episode on it. So make sure to go back a couple episodes to episode 103 where we talked about The Jungle Book from 1967 and from 2016. So let's put it on the board, though. Where are we ranking The Jungle Book on our list?
Oh, why are you looking over here?
I'm not looking at you. I'm looking over there.
No, I'm looking over here. I seen you looking this way. I thought you were looking at me. I think it's below Dalmatians, but that's just me.
I can agree with that.
Okay, I mean, I'm outnumbered, but I would have put it underneath Maleficent and above 101 Dalmatians. I think this is the Maleficent is fun because it's different.
I liked it though.
Then side with him. Don't side with me. I wasn't high on the movie on the second viewing.
I'm gonna side with Parker.
Yeah, go with him.
All right. So The Jungle Book will be our new number 2. So we are now going to move on to Beauty and the Beast, which we've already done an episode on this, so make sure to go back to episode 102, where we talked about the 1991 animated film and the 2017 live action. So we're not going to go into all that. So if you want to know all of the ins and outs of those two movies, make sure to go back and listen to episode 102. So we're just going to rank it. Guys, where's Beauty and the Beast going on this? Currently, our list is number 1, Maleficent, number 2, The Jungle Book, number 3, 101 Dalmatians, number 4, Alice in Wonderland, and number 5, Cinderella.
I'm first. No, I'm not going first.
I actually liked this remake. I actually was higher on this than I was probably even Jungle Book remake. So, but not more than that, in my opinion. So I would put it like I'm fine with it. Like Dalmatians are right below it. Is like kind of for me for Beauty and the Beast. Because I think it's a pretty cool. Well, I don't want to talk about it. We fucking got that episode.
Yes.
The hell with that. Go watch that shit.
Yes, watch or listen to that episode.
Yes.
Liked it though. This one's difficult.
Rip that band-aid off.
I know. It's so hard ranking things because it's like I want to rank them all high.
It's okay.
I can't.
You get one shot at it and it'll stay that way forever, and people will judge us for the entire time this podcast exists. No pressure.
Because I love Beauty and the Beast so much. I love them both.
Actually, you should have gone first, so I didn't put my
I know.
sense in.
I would probably put it above Dalmatians.
So I would say for me, Dan, what did you say? What did you pick?
I'd be fine with either above or below Dalmatians, but I know it doesn't help.
Yeah, you have to actually pick a spot, Dan.
Okay, then I will say above Dalmatians. Above Dalmatians.
Okay, so I would put it below Dalmatians, but I lost, so it's got to be.
No, she's with you. Did you say
you said above?
Above. Okay, never mind.
So it's gonna be. So Beauty and the Beast is going to be our new number 3.
Is it a bit alarming?
Okay, moving on to the next one. So we have Christopher Robin. I'm not going to count that because it's kind of its own thing. It's a huge sequel. Christopher Robin's an adult. He finds Winnie the Pooh. I actually enjoyed this movie. It was kind of cute. Definitely not something I would go back to multiple times because it's kind of slow. But it's a fun time. But our next one officially will be Dumbo from 2019. And guess what? Dan's favorite director is back. We're talking about Tim Burton again.
You can't say anything because you didn't watch it. I watched it.
So this movie was released in March. Oh, it was released March 29th, 2019, with a $170 million budget and only made $353.3 million. So not so good. It got a lot of mixed reviews. It definitely was a big change from the original story. Just the way that it kind of all went. There was like a core villain of this movie in Michael Keaton's character, who was an absolute cartoon character. I love Michael Keaton, and I love the fact that Michael Keaton and Danny DeVito came back together. It's their first time in a movie together since Batman Returns, almost 17 years before.
Did Danny DeVito bite anybody's nose off?
No, but in interviews or in the behind the scenes for this movie, Danny DeVito's like, it was so much fun to be the good guy this time, because the last time I was the bad guy and Michael Keaton, was Batman, but to be him to be the villain, it was a lot of fun.
Villain Michael Keaton is fun.
Yes.
Adrian Toomes.
Yes. That was when he played a good villain. This villain was no joke a cartoon character. I understand it took place, I think it takes place in 1919, so it was like right after World War I.
Mm-hmm.
So, and just, I feel like Burton was trying to make it feel like a movie from that era, where like the dialogue is just, it's very over exaggerated and it just doesn't sound like what you would see today. So I guess I can't completely blame him.
Look at him. Imagine him with ice blonde hair.
Mhm.
That's
yeah.
Oh
yeah.
And he sits like, and I'm like, stop it.
So this has Colin Farrell. The cast is really fun. Colin Farrell's in this movie. I always love Colin Farrell. Michael Keaton, Danny DeVito, Ava Green, and Alan Markin. That's your core cast. Music, Danny Elfman. Can't have a Tim Burton movie without Danny Elfman doing that score. And it feels like a Burton film. When you have Elfman's score playing with Burton, I was like, there was no joke. I think when he wrote the score for this movie, he squeezed in a slight Batman theme. Like there was a point in time where you're like, I'm like, oh my God, is that the Batman theme? Like it was like almost, and then he would just change it a little bit. It was kind of like when you watch Cruel Jaws and they start playing the Star Wars music, but then they just change one note and you're like, oh, okay, they got me. No, I'm just kidding. I can't. I'm not comparing those two. No, I love Danny Elfman and his scores are always great. So yeah, let's talk about 2019's Dumbo, which is fun because literally this movie takes place in 1919, so it takes place 100 years before the movie actually came out. Let's talk about it. Dan, you said you didn't watch it?
No, I'm just here.
Okay, so I guess it's between me and Angela.
Yep. Yep.
Angela, what are your thoughts on Dumbo?
Do that.
I'm just gonna check out. I'm just gonna spin around.
Oh, you're taking my headphones with you. Take my ear off. It's been a long time since I've seen the original Dumbo.
Mm-hmm.
Like so long since that I can only remember bits and pieces of what I've seen. So to see this one as being more
realistic,
I guess realistic, knowing that there's, elephants can't fly.
They could if you shot them out of a cannon. Just say it. Or strapped a rocket to one. Because they would fly temporarily. You do it for a small one because, big ones are heavy.
It's like a bird, though.
I saw some of it a little bit when you were watching it.
Like, it's not just flying like Buzz Lightyear flying, following the style. But to see Danny DeVito as a good guy, and you don't think he's gonna be good. Like he's the
badass with a heart of gold.
He's greedy. He really is. He's greedy. He wants the money. But then he realizes what he's doing and he kind of changes his tune. I get it. But just to see Danny DeVito be good, it's weird. And I've said it a couple of times. It was just like watching Batman. Like that's what I felt like I was watching is a Batman with elephants in it.
Does he fight an elephant?
No.
He's like, I
Well,
got
Michael
this.
Keaton.
No.
Michael Keaton kind of does. He doesn't really fight an elephant, but he's got to square up.
I need my bat elephant.
But he's the villain
tranquilizer.
of this movie, so you're rooting against him.
This is definitely one of the weird realistic animals.
Yeah.
But
Because it's Tim Burton.
But Dumbo's not real. He's not a real elephant. Like, I think they had real elephants in it because they're riding elephants. So they had to
it was all CG.
real.
Is the pink elephant song in it? They don't have the pink elephant.
No, because they don't have the scene where he gets drunk. They took that. They do. There's a scene where they go into the tent. This is when. So in this movie, it's very different. So Danny DeVito is the owner of this circus. He's like the Mercici Brothers circus, and he pretty much gets bought out by Michael Keaton's character, who owns like a Disney World style circus. Like it's like an amusement park, but it's got a circus, and he literally buys him out because he wants Dumbo. And when they do their first show, when they get to this big park, they do like a bubble show, which then turns into those elephants from that pink elephant segment of the animated film. And they get them to dance and stuff and do all the things that they did in the original, but it's not because Dumbo gets drunk. And, you know, they got rid of that. They got rid of the racial undertones with the crows. Okay. Yeah, they changed it to a degree, and, you know, it wasn't like too much where it was like, okay, we get it.
Gotcha.
Is there anything else you want to add to that, Angela?
There's just a couple weird things that happen that I'm like, you're stretching it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But
like the ending?
I mean, they send mom and baby off on a boat. Like, bye. Like, oh.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Dumbo goes back to the wild. Like, these animals, the mother probably wasn't even born in the wild. Like, what are we doing here? Like, they sent him in there.
This is a stupid ending. I'm like, they're gonna die.
Well, it's because that's how all these remakes, they change the ending, like Mowgli not going back to not going to the man village or this. It's supposed to be
wanted to be a happier ending because it's like at the end of the original, Dumbo and his mom still technically are part of the circus, but they kind of run the thing, and I was like, how does that fucking work? They're elephants.
They take the whips out and they're like, yeah.
But yeah, you get the thing of it is like the original one. Of course, Dumbo can talk, and well, actually, no, Dumbo doesn't talk in the original, does he? I know everyone else does, but I don't think Dumbo does. But in this one, they have two kids. They're Colin Farrell's kids, who pretty much show that Dumbo can fly. He has to have the feather, which is they brought back from the original. And yeah, I mean, visually, I think this movie looks really good. It does look like a Tim Burton movie, 100%. The gothic tones of especially Michael Keaton's circus. Very much Batman, like Gotham City tones.
The girl that plays
the daughter is Nico Parker.
She looks so familiar.
Yes, her mother is Thwandi Newton. She was in Westworld. She's been in a bunch of stuff.
That's why.
Yeah, she literally is identical to her mother. She was also in Nico Parker was also in the first episode of The Last of Us. She played
I've
Joel's
not watched
daughter.
that. So, but I'm like, gosh, she looks so familiar, and I kept like staring at her every time she was on screen.
This was her first movie. So
okay.
But yeah, this was a listen, the first Dumbo was kind of grim. This movie's a little bit grimmer. Like, you have Colin Farrell's character coming back from the war. He's missing an arm. His wife died of the Spanish flu. Like, a bunch of people from the circus died from the Spanish flu. Like, they're going hardcore into this, like how dark it can be. You have Dumbo's mom gets sent away after she causes the incident in the Big Top. And
her fault.
Yeah, because of that really goofy looking motherfucker. The dude was such a goofball.
What his name was. Oh, I hated him.
All I know is that he got what he deserved. And yeah, and then the whole thing with Michael Keaton's character and his whole part of the movie that wasn't in the original. That was completely new material. So I've always said I like when they add new things, when it's not just a beat for beat remake of the original story. Give us something a little bit new. Problem is this movie did not get good reception. I know I've talked to a few people about Dumbo, they don't really have a lot of good things about it. I thought it was fine. I thought it was a solid remake because of the fact that they changed things. And this is a perfect movie to remake because that original came out in 1940. And
Exactly.
as much as we can dive into the fact that there are things in that animated film that aren't okay today, it was made in 1940 when the view of things was different. Even though in 2023, a lot of those views haven't changed to a lot of people. Not saying it's okay, not advocating for it. But I thought this was, I mean, this movie and of course Pinocchio, which we'll get to, were perfect movies to change or to do remakes on because it has been so long since the animated feature. We hadn't gotten a Dumbo movie between the 1940 original to this one here in 2019. So I like the changes that they made.
Only a justified remake.
Yes.
Yeah, like do something that hasn't been done. Like I get
Exactly.
that. But see, what I'm wondering
I
is,
still want to remake a Bambi. Give it
but
to
see,
me.
that's another movie. So I'm gonna bring this up. It's like one of those films that's in the pantheon of Disney, like this,
Snow White,
Bambi, Snow White, stuff like that.
Pinocchio.
It's been around forever today,
Mhm.
but they don't always do well when they're remade. And it's not that it was for a loss of quality or the people behind Dumbo, right? Like Dumbo, they had a lot of big names behind it, a lot of money. It wasn't shortchanged at all. But I'm wondering if it's just one of those films that people know about Dumbo, but Dumbo isn't maybe a film that like people are like, oh, that's my favorite Disney movie.
Yeah.
It's just it's been around so long and it has a legacy. It's like the first Mickey Mouse cartoon. If they did a big budget version of fucking Steamboat Willie, I guarantee you that movie probably wouldn't do that well.
No, because to be honest, Mickey Mouse is not that popular when it comes to him being on screen. He is just popular for the theme park, and he's the mascot for Disney. So like that's his popularity. He's like and he's popular with little kids who like to watch Mickey Mouse Clubhouse on Disney Junior.
Yeah.
But like if you make a full length film on Mickey Mouse, it's probably not gonna. Yeah, I agree. It's probably not gonna do well.
Oh, too. Yes.
This has to exist. Okay, I'm just gonna tell you right now because I haven't brought this up in a long time, and Angela pointed this out to me. That is the pornographic version of Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. Come inside. It's fun inside.
Hey, that's mine.
That's the thing.
Oh God.
That's the name.
I told him the other day that he hasn't come up with a porn.
And she said it to me. I'm like, oh shit. And like this like
he had
blinds open,
moment.
bright light, and this epiphany moment. Ding.
Oh,
that was it. ET porn. Don't give me that shit.
But yeah, this is definitely, I mean, I totally agree with you, Dan. This is definitely a movie that I don't think was like widely like, oh my God, everyone is just clamming for a Dumbo remake. So when it came out, it was like, oh, okay, sure.
I mean, I'm glad they did. Like the concept, like we talked about, remake something that hasn't been remade or something that wasn't well received when it was originally made, and give it another chance. But I just saying like that's just my thing. Like it's something like, okay, what if they remade Sword of the Stone, which is not obviously a Disney property, it's King Arthurian legend.
Yeah.
But what if I wanted a new segment with fucking Mad Madam Mim singing her song where Merlin becomes the bacteria? And I fucking remember that because I watched that movie a lot growing up. But yeah, what if I want that shit? Or where he turns into a damn blue jay or whatever. Right. Do that movie. Why not? It'll probably suck, but do it anyway.
Okay. So this would be the first movie of five live action remakes that Disney would put out in 2019.
I just realized that's a fucking lot.
All right, let's rank this one. Where's this one going?
I can't rank it high. I enjoyed the story of it, and I enjoyed the acting, but it's the whole CG everything
I mean, it just gets worse and worse as we
Yeah.
go along.
I know. It's the whole CG everything. Like, even I feel like in the first big
Those horses look weird.
circus, but even the first big talk scene that they did, I felt like everything from like the first 2 rows back.
Absolutely.
Even the people, I was like,
you can't get enough extras. That's what you do. You just take 2 rows and then you kind of copy and paste them throughout the entire crowd.
I don't see how you couldn't get enough extras. This is pre-COVID. This was made.
No.
I
Yeah,
know.
I just know that's the trick that they do with a lot of that stuff.
But like, they built the scenes.
Yeah.
Like, they built the big top. How could you not feel that with people? Like, that right there. Like, it's just, no, it's so bad. So I can't rank it high. I would probably have to rank it close to the bottom.
Listen.
All right. Well, the bottom 3 is 101 Dalmatians, Alice in Wonderland, and Cinderella.
Would have to rank it below Alice in Wonderland.
You know, as Alice in Wonderland, I'm gonna agree with you because Alice in Wonderland is, to me, a movie you can go back to and is more enjoyable. This is one of those movies where you're like, all right, I saw it. It was fine. It wasn't anything special. To be honest, it wasn't like Dumbo. The original Dumbo is not one that I look back on going, man, that was one of my favorite Disney movies. Like it's there. It has a history. It is one of the original Disney movies, from the start of the whole animation, when, this came out in 1940. So it was the second or third film that Disney had put out. Or was it 1940 or 1941. So it was technically the third because I think Bambi came out the same year or the year after. But yeah, I'll agree. So it is currently sitting in our 6th spot since Dan can't rank it since he didn't watch it.
I'm that kind of guy, people.
I do think that the kid actors did really well acting against.
Crazy thing. They're both English, or they're both from the UK, and they both had They had to be American. Literally, their father and the kids are all. Colin Farrell is Irish, and the kids are from the UK, and they all had to be American. I was like, why did you just? Okay, sure. You really had to make these kids work for their first job.
But I mean, I think the kids did great.
Yeah,
acting against what they were put up against. Like,
all right, let's move on to Aladdin, which came out May 24th, 2019, only a couple months, literally a couple months after Dumbo. This one was directed by Guy Ritchie, who directed, he's hugely known in like English gangster movies. So he did Rock and Rolla. He directed the Sherlock Holmes movies. Yeah, he Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, Snatch, which are funny as hell.
Snatch is good.
Yeah, he was married to Madonna. Just a little side tangent there, and he released 2 movies this year with Operation Fortune Ruse de Guerre and The Covenant, which is a movie with Jake Gyllenhaal. It's a war movie. So the cast, of course, we have Will Smith as the genie. We have Mena Massoud, who played Aladdin. We have Naomi Scott as Jasmine. We have Marwan Kenzari, who plays Jafar, who is going to be one of my major issues of this movie. Navid Negaban, Nassim Pedrad, and Billy Magnuson.
Can't spell.
Music done by Alan Menken. We haven't really mentioned the music much, but Alan Menken, he did the original music for the animated Aladdin from 1992. This was released May 24th, 2019. Over 2 hours long. Did not need to be that long. $183 million budget and made $1.054 billion. So, has everyone here seen Aladdin? Really, did?
I have.
Okay.
I've never seen it.
You didn't want to watch it with me.
She watched it, and I was like, no, because she was like, you want to watch Aladdin? I was like, we're going to watch Lion King. You've seen Aladdin. That covers it.
All right, well, let's talk about Aladdin.
I know, I'm sorry.
Dan, or I guess both of you. What do you what's Aladdin? Let's talk about it. What do you guys think?
I didn't see it, so I don't know. Go ahead.
I liked this one.
Okay.
And this is why I didn't pick this one for. This was my first pick for our versus episode. I enjoyed it. I didn't think I was going to because I am a diehard OG Aladdin fan because nobody else can play Genie but
Yeah,
Robin Williams.
we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
But I enjoyed Will Smith as Genie,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't think I was going to. But I love Will Smith. I could have, done away with Aladdin and just been Genie and Jasmine.
I'm just looking at this cast. It's like, who the fuck are these people?
Well, of course,
And I hated.
I mean,
hated
just like these. Well, yeah, but like,
yeah, they changed them too much.
I love Jafar in the animated one so much, but I did not like him.
But you're so old.
Yeah.
Jafar. Talk about Jafar, all right?
Yeah.
but not the actors playing these characters, but like these character names. Like, who the fuck are these?
Yeah,
people?
they added a lot of characters who weren't in the original one. Like they gave Jasmine a she's not really an assistant. I don't know what her title technically is. Oh, she's a handmaiden. She's a handmaiden. And yeah, let's talk a little bit more about this. So I enjoy this movie because I like that Will Smith didn't just copy Robin Williams' performance. He didn't there were lines, of course, that are used by the Genie in the original animated film that Will Smith uses, but he kind of puts his own twist to it. He is Will Smith as the Genie. He isn't Will Smith imitating Robin Williams as Genie, which I appreciated. The blue CG on him not looking so good. It looked better than when we first saw him in the trailer. I know that was a huge thing when the trailer came out, back in 2019. It was like lambasted for how bad the CG looked. CG didn't really improve that much, but it wasn't terrible. He was in human form a lot in this movie, which I enjoyed. He wasn't just blue all the time. The Genie was a lot more involved into Aladdin's life, and also
not blue it was.
Yeah. The actor, to be honest, I out of the core cast, other than Will Smith, because I did enjoy his performance as the Genie, I gotta say Naomi Scott as Jasmine was my favorite because I liked what the change that they made on her character. Of course, people will yell woke when they see what they did with Jasmine because they gave her she's open-minded. She speaks her mind. She stands up for herself. She's not playing the typical, woman role of as Jasmine did in the original. They even gave her own song. There was a song that they added just for Jasmine about how she's strong-willed and all that stuff. And I know a lot of people didn't like that because it's woke, and I fucking hate that shit. It's annoying.
Oh, she can sing great. I'm pretty sure she's the one that sang. No, she's not Leah Salonga caliber singing, but I thought she did the song for this movie. I thought she did great on the song.
Mena Masad, I think he was fine as Aladdin. He wasn't memorable. I love Scott. Was it Scott Winger is the voice of Aladdin in the animated film? He's the one who was in Full House, or Weiger, I think his name is. Wenger. Yeah, he just does the talking voice of Aladdin because I know his singing voice is different. But I don't know, that Aladdin is just more memorable. They changed Aladdin up a little bit in this one. They get when he becomes the prince and he's doing all he's in the palace and he's doing all his things. There's a lot more going on because him and the Genie are working together a lot more than what we saw in the animated one. But that's also why this movie's over 2 hours long, because we got all that extra shit that a lot of it just didn't need to be in it. Jafar was just so underwhelming. I like the fact that he was an older, creepier guy in the original, where it was just that they just made him creepier. I get it, but I don't.
To be nice,
and also
I was like, no, you're creepy. Stop it.
And also Iago, I get it. You want to make the parrot more realistic.
Yeah.
And so, and to be honest, the second time watching it, which I watched it last night, I didn't realize how much Iago actually talked in this, because I remember seeing it the first time going, like, Iago doesn't do anything. He just squawks like a parrot, but he actually talks a lot, but he talks like a parrot.
Yep.
Where, you know, and I think that's why they cast Gilbert Gottfried to be the Iago in the original, because his voice kind of has that parrot-like sound to it. But, yeah. He also didn't look very, Iago did not look very good.
Mm-mm.
The tiger doesn't play a big role in it, which I don't know. It just, this has many problems, but overall, I love the song, the different versions of the core songs. I loved it. I loved the Alibaba song. I loved Friend Like Me, you know, just the fact that it's a Will Smith twist to it.
Yes.
Which is always enjoyable. And yeah, overall, the ending was underwhelming. Jafar just doesn't. He just didn't give me like full-fledged villain. It just didn't work. But I don't think it's as bad as people say it is. So
yeah, when I first heard that Will Smith was going to be
Frank Welker.
Frank Welker does the Cave of Wonders in both movies.
Why am I not surprised by that? He's also the voice vocal effects for Abu.
Yeah.
And Raja.
I think that is awesome that they brought him back to do that. Oh, yes.
Also, that didn't look very good either. I did not like the Cave of Wonder scene in this one. It just didn't. I love the way the cave looks in the animated film. Yeah. I mean, I do like the opening of this movie where it shows Will Smith with his kids, and you don't know it's the handmaiden, but he gets with the handmaiden. But yeah, he's telling his kids of the story of Aladdin, because, you know, at the end of Aladdin uses his final wish to set the genie free, which he then just becomes a human. Where in the original one, he still stays blue and just leaves. He's going to Disney World, guys. He's got his goofy hat on. He goes.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, before we get too far into this, because we still got quite a few to go. Where are we putting Aladdin?
Yeah, gotta be up there.
I actually enjoyed this more than Beauty and the Beast.
I would have to agree.
All right, so Aladdin is going to be our new number 3.
You
might say, how is it so high when you had so many complaints about it? Because I still came out enjoying the movie. Every movie has problems. Every movie, like, except for Jaws. Jaws doesn't have any issues. But Jurassic Park, same. Except for the cliff. Where'd that cliff come from? But yeah, I mean, it's still an enjoyable movie. I had a lot of fun with this movie. I don't think it even touches the animated film. A lot of these don't. A lot of these aren't touching the animated films they come after. But it's still a good time. Are they necessary? Absolutely not. We've talked about this before. This next movie we're going to be talking about is the one I've been dreading, but also super excited to talk about it because of how much I dislike this. It is Jon Favreau's The Lion King. Why? If you want to talk about a movie that is so unnecessary to remake, this is one. This movie is about animals. All the characters are fucking animals. So what you're doing is you're just showcasing how good you can get CG animals to look. That is what this movie is. This movie lacks emotion. This movie lacks everything the animated film does. The animated film is my favorite Disney movie ever. It's the first movie I was ever taken to in theaters. I watch this movie at least a few times a year, and it packs a punch with emotions. There are just scenes that are just so good. The voice acting is spectacular. Jeremy Irons as Scar, so good. James Earl Jones as Mufasa. I mean, he comes back for this one, which is cool, but it was still just... Don't get me wrong. The voice acting in this movie is fun. You have Donald Glover, who is fantastic. You have Beyonce, who does great. You have Billy Eichner, who plays Timon in this, which, as much as he is nowhere near Nathan Lane, he actually does pretty good Timon. I can't say the same about Seth Rogen. I hated his Pumbaa. Alfre Woodard, legend, who played what's the mom's name? Simba's mom.
Oh fuck.
Wait, stop it,
Sarabi?
Sarabi. I was
Sarabi.
like, you keep moving it. And I was like,
Chiwetel Ejiofor, he's the one who voices Scar. I think he does a good job with this version of Scar. He's just not Jeremy Irons. Jeremy Irons' Scar is just so scary. Like, he's so intimidating.
Jeremy Irons has that guttural, low, like,
yeah,
just grabs you.
When he grabs onto Mufasa, when Mufasa's climbing the gorge to try to get out, and he's like, "Brother, help me!" and he grabs onto him. He's like, "Long live the..." Jeremy Irons, the way he says that is just spine. It's spine chilling. When I don't want to keep. I'm gonna keep fucking up his name, but the actor who played Scar in this, it just doesn't hit. He's just like, "Long live the king," and it just throws him off. I'm like, there was no emotional payoff with that. It just and here's the thing that is really weird. So in the Jungle Book, we have talking animals, but I felt like they were able to emote. Like you could feel emotion from those characters. You feel no emotion from these characters. There's no smiling, there's nothing, because they want them to look like real animals. And that's why the animated version is so good, because you see like the fear in Simba's eyes as he watches his father fall to his death, or the fear in Pumbaa's eyes as he's being chased by Nala through the jungle. Yep. And this movie is just literally, like I said before, this is a showcase on how good CG can be, because this movie is visually gorgeous. Yeah. Gorgeous. The environments, it literally feels like you're just in a nature documentary, and you're just waiting for David Attenborough to start narrating the life of and that is that, and the voice acting, because I can't fault the voice actors. They were given a job, they did the best they could, and unfortunately this movie just does nothing. There's nothing good about this movie other than it looks good and the voice acting is fine. I do like the fact though that the music was okay, but the problem is there wasn't a lot of singing. And when they're and to be honest, when fucking Timon and Pumbaa sing Hakuna Matata, it is fucking horrible. It is, especially when Seth Rogen starts singing, you're like, please stop now. This is awful. But when Donald Glover and Beyonce are singing Feel Your Love Tonight, which is they are two amazing singers, so it sounds really good. I was like, okay, I'm cool with this. Also, they got rid of my fucking song. Be Prepared is the best song in the original movie. I don't care. And they got rid of it. He literally starts singing it for about 10 seconds and then he just leaves. And you're like, what?
But it's the talk singing again, and I cannot stand that.
Oh, it's the worst. And when I looked up, I remember when this first came out, and I remember they said that Be Prepared wasn't going to be in it, which already pissed me off before the movie came out. I'm like, you're really not going to include... They're like, well, we can't do it because of the imagery from the animated film, because it literally looks like Nazis marching, like with the hyenas. I was like, just don't include that. Just have them in a crowd and just have the cool visuals of the fucking green shit coming out of the floor, and you just have Scar on the thing and he's just singing. And maybe the guy couldn't sing. Maybe the actor couldn't sing that song. Maybe he just couldn't do it. I know Jeremy Irons didn't sing the entire thing in the original one.
Jim Cummings helped fill in some of the singing because he couldn't hit certain notes.
Yeah.
I mean, they had in Aladdin, Leah Salonga sang for Jasmine. They can bring people in that can sing for their pieces.
Dude, it happens. It wouldn't be the first time.
I mean, look at Nightmare Before Christmas. Mm-hmm. Who sang for Jack? You can do it.
I do. I think another aspect I did like a little bit was the hyenas. I like the fact that Shenzi is the leader of the hyenas and she's more terrifying. Like Whoopi Goldberg's Shenzi is fun. Like those hyenas are funny. You have Ed, who's the brain dead one, who just
makes noises.
Yeah, and the dynamics. But to be honest, I like what I think it was Eric Andre and Keegan-Michael Key were the other two main hyenas, and it's all like Keegan-Michael Key's is kind of he's a smarter one, and then you have the dumber one, but he's not like super dumb like Ed. Yeah, but it's more of just like they can't. The lesser of the smart ones is just doesn't know how to not be in the other one's personal space.
Yeah.
Too close.
Socially
Okay.
awkward as
Yeah.
fuck.
But yeah, just the fact that there's no emotion in this movie, there's no facial expressions made. It is just a nature documentary with pretty
Yes.
CGI, and
I
it's
said the
sad
one
because
that did the most facial of anything was Timon.
yeah, I liked Billy Eichner's performance as Timon, but he's not Nathan Lane. I
No.
also wasn't a huge fan of Rafiki. I felt like I don't know. I just wasn't a huge. I don't know. I feel like I'm beyond more judgmental on this than I am on any of the other Disney remakes because I love The Lion King so much. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's one of the best Disney movies ever made. And you just
didn't
fucked it.
like
You
Rafiki
just
either.
there was no
Like,
need for this movie. It's about a bunch of
no.
animals. If you're at least going to remake this, give these animals expressions. I don't give a fuck, man. I will watch National Geographic if I want to watch animals not have expressions on their face. I don't need this. It's stupid. All right, before I get too fumed here, words.
I know
This movie made a lot of
was
fucking money
too
though,
much.
so
And I can see why it
oh,
was
absolutely.
beautiful.
I did not see this in theaters. I refused. I
But
literally was like, nope.
I'm like, why is this necessary? Because, like you said, you didn't like Rafiki. I was like, okay, Rafiki was in the animated one, was the dumb monkey.
Mm-hmm.
That was everybody thought he was crazy. In this one, he's just like,
well, yeah. I mean, I know they all think he's wise, but he's the crazy monkey who lives by
he's
himself.
crazy.
But he's the wise monkey too. Yeah.
Yeah. And like the whole scene with the bugs, where he uses the bugs to make Simba's face on the tree.
Yeah. I don't like that either. I was like, what are we doing here? I don't like it.
What's
Stop it.
Painting with the fruits?
I don't know, Dan. I don't know.
What's wrong with that?
I don't know what John Favreau was thinking with this. I'm very disappointed in him. We are getting a prequel.
Caterpillar.
What now?
We are getting a prequel. It's called Mufasa, so it's going to be Mufasa beforehand. Yippee! Don't need that.
That tiny kickstart's ass.
I'm sure. You know what is funny is I was thinking about it before we get into the behind the scenes stuff. So Scar, that's his name, right? But he definitely got his scar after he was born. So is that just a nickname?
It is. He has an actual name.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
he has an actual name, and they've said his name before. I do like the way they made Scar look in this.
Yeah, he looks he looks good.
Like
a mangy
you can
lion.
tell.
Yeah.
You can tell he was not wanted, so he wasn't a part of because the females do the hunting.
Yeah.
He was having to get food on his own, and they made him.
He was an outcast, probably from when his father was the king. And when Mufasa became the king, Mufasa's like, "Oh, I'm gonna bring you in because I feel bad." But then he ends up killing him. I was like, okay. So yeah, that's supposed to be out in 2024, the prequel. This was released July 19th, 2019, on a budget of between $250 and $260 million. It made $1.663 billion. And
I can see why.
Listen,
it's pretty.
It's called The Lion King. No, that's why it made that much money. Is that we're doing a live action Lion King, and people went, "Oh, I love The Lion King," and they went, and I went, "No, I'm not going to see you in theaters. I'll wait until you're on Disney Plus." Fuck that.
Fucking stick it to them.
Yeah.
All I know is I'm putting this one on the very bottom. This is my least favorite. This is going to be my bottom, but I don't know where are you guys thinking.
It's got to be bottom.
We didn't even get a chance to talk. You pretty much covered the whole base. I mean,
oh, sorry. I blacked out. I was.
He just kept going.
I was seeing red.
It was the blackout rage. But yeah, as much as I wanted to like this one, I just didn't. So yeah, it would have to go bottom for me.
So, I don't care where this fucking movie goes, to be honest. I'm gonna tell you right now.
Saying at least.
I watched this in theaters growing up too. And I have very good fond memories of watching this movie in theaters. Well, the original, not this one.
Mm.
I'm gonna agree with what you said about the CG and stuff like that. But my biggest problem with this movie was actually the line delivery by a lot of the actors.
Yeah, I agree.
There's so many instances where the impact was so much better in the animated version. Emotions aside, just line delivery. I'll give a pass to James Earl Jones. He's a much older man at the time.
It was like 90 when he did this movie.
Yeah, you can hear it in his voice.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give him a solid pass. I didn't mind. I didn't.
It was like he was trying. He was like trying to imitate what he did in the original, but it was like he couldn't hit certain things. And yeah, he's an exception.
I like the guy who did Scar. I thought he was fine most of the time. Yes. Donald Glover was fine. Beyonce was fine most of the time. I fucking hated Zazu.
Oh yeah, John Oliver. I like John Oliver. I think he's really funny. I've been watching him since he was on The Daily Show way back in the day, and he's on. He's got his own show on HBO. But yeah, his Zazu was like when you're putting him against Rowan Atkinson, who did the original voice, like not even close to being compared.
Whew. You know what they didn't do that they should have done?
Lovely Bunch of Coconuts.
Yes, they didn't.
In a Small World.
No, no. Here's the thing: they did the Be My Guest fucking shit.
Yes, I was missed that when you stepped out. When they were doing the
like,
are you aching for some bacon? You can they did be our guest. Like,
guest. And as soon as he says guest, the hyenas start chasing him, and I was like, really?
I was sitting there. I was like, "Are you fucking serious?"
We just got this remake too.
But anyhow, on that, but it's just like I didn't care for his delivery. But like they'll do certain lines, like you talked about the "Long Live the King" line. Delivery was nowhere near as good. Seth Rogen was annoying as fuck as Pumbaa. No offense to Seth Rogen, because I like him in certain things.
Yeah.
There's things like it was just the delivery as a whole. And I know fucking Jon Favreau or whatever his name is really, he's a good director. And I just feel like he just couldn't direct these fucking people. Like, I just felt like you watch the old animated one and they'll say some shit like, wow, that was a good delivery. It has a lot of good impact. But then you watch it in the live action version, I'm like, everything feels like tonally flatter. Yeah. Like there's not the emoting as hard most of the time. It's just annoying as piss. That was the biggest problem with this movie for me. And I don't give a fuck if you put it at the bottom. That's it. That's the end of it.
Okay.
You know these people can act because you see them in other things.
Yeah, it just anyway, go ahead. That was it. Like
no, I totally agree.
Just stay there.
All right, so The Lion King is now our new bottom of the barrel. Now we're going to move on to the final movie of 2019, and that was Lady and the Tramp. This movie came out on Disney Plus. It was one of the first live action films released straight to Disney Plus. It didn't get a theatrical release. I had a budget of $60 million. I'm guessing they used a lot of the profit from The Lion King to justify this movie going out. They're like, there's no way this is even coming close to The Lion King numbers. But it was directed by Charlie Bean, who directed the Powerpuff Girls movie. Oh wait, that's his filmography. Where's his directorial stuff? Never mind. He's only directed 2 things. He directed the Lego Ninjago movie in 2017, and then this one in 2019. He was a voice actor in the Lego Batman movie. So yeah, not a well-known director. There's, like I said, two movies under his belt. The cast behind this, you had Tessa Thompson, who played Lady. You had Justin Theroux, who played the Tramp. You had Cersei Clemens, who played the Lady's owner. You have Thomas Mann, who played the other owner. Thomas Mann was in Kong Skull Island. He was the young kid who survives like the whole movie. I can't remember what his character's name was in that.
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Slivko.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did not recognize him in this movie because he has like a giant mustache. F. Murray Abraham is in this. Yvette Nicole Brown. Ken Jeong's in this, and Sam Elliott, who does a voice of the Bloodhound.
Benedict Wong is in it too.
Yep, he is.
Yeah, he plays the bulldog. That was pretty funny. Yeah. But
Clancy Brown, Mr. Krabs is in it.
Yeah, he's another dog.
Sorry, we just got excited. I love Clancy Brown.
So yeah, did you guys see this one?
Nope, absolutely not. Didn't even know it was a thing.
All right, well, let me talk about it because I did.
But I was like,
watched it a couple weeks ago, and this movie's boring. So boring.
They kiss over a meatball, dude. That's it. That's all you need to know.
To be honest, I was never the biggest fan of the original. It definitely was a forgettable one. This one just looked prettier. The visuals looked weird sometimes, but I get it based on the budget. And then it was going straight to Disney Plus, so they're like, yeah, we don't have to do that. We don't have to put that much work into it. We're gonna work really hard on it. I'm not gonna downplay the work that visual effects artists have to do, but it definitely wasn't probably as much as the other tentpole movies. They had to change certain things. You know, you had the Siamese cats in the original, which is, you know, racist undertones. So they changed it to just other types of cats who are just complete assholes who like tear apart the house. Yvette Nicole Brown plays like the worst character, where she owns the cats, but she also just hates Lady for some reason. Voice acting is fine. It's so boring. This is a 2-hour movie. Why? I don't know, but it was boring.
That seems like a lot to stretch out two dogs that love each other, like 2 hours.
So I don't know about you guys, but this one is going to go right above The Lion King.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Fuck it.
All right.
Right in the butt.
I didn't watch it, so I don't care.
It was one of those movies where it ended and I was like, oh, well, okay. Guess I don't ever have to watch that one again.
You sure dogs don't move like that?
Yep.
Just
check it off.
It's a weird one. Next one is Mulan, which we talked about in last week's episode, so we're not going to go too deep into it. I do, though, want to shout out the director because I realized that when we talked about the live action version, I didn't go into the director. Nikki Caro, she directed movies such as Whale Rider, North Country, McFarlane USA, which is a Kevin Costner movie. I think it's like a basketball movie. The Zookeeper's Wife, and then Mulan. So I just wanted to shout her out since I didn't talk about her in the core Mulan episode. We're not gonna go into any of the behind the scenes stuff with this because we already talked about it in last week's episode. So make sure to check it out. We had a great guest in Dustin from the Flicks and Friend podcast, which Dan and Angela are wearing some Flicks and Friends merch right now. I haven't gotten mine yet, so I couldn't wear mine. So I got my Dissect the Film sweatshirt on. So at least got some representation. Yeah, all Flicks and Friends today.
Okay, I got my Dissect That Film condom on. We're good.
Yes. Yeah, I forgot I just did those. Oh, crazy. I'm glad they came in. Oh.
Extra strength.
All right. Hefty. Since we've talked about this movie, where are we putting it on our list? Currently, do you want to know the list right now?
Please.
Okay. Do we want to go bottom to top?
I already know what the bottom two are.
Okay, so starting from the bottom, we have The Lion King, then we have Lady and the Tramp, then we have Cinderella, then we have Dumbo, Alice in Wonderland, 101 Dalmatians, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, The Jungle Book, and Maleficent.
Under 101 Dalmatians.
Okay.
I'll agree.
Sounds good to me. It is our new number 6. All right, we got one more to talk about before we kind of just run through the movies that are going to be coming out. We're not going to go too into them because they're not out yet. Because unfortunately, by the time we record, I was hoping by the time we record this episode, the new Peter Pan would have been out so we could kind of talk about that one, but it's not. Maybe we'll do a fresh cut on that. I don't know. The last one is one that came out in September of last year, and that is Pinocchio.
Rip.
So this movie was directed by a legendary director, Robert Zemeckis, the man behind Back to the Future 1, 2, and 3, Forrest Gump, Castaway, so many amazing films. And he, I think, fell asleep making this movie. I think Tom Hanks didn't know where he was making this movie. And this movie is horrendous. This movie is so bad. But I want you guys to talk about it before I get too deep into it.
Yeah, Jared, what do we have to talk about this movie?
So I started watching this earlier today, and I had to go to the store. I made it like 20, 25 minutes into this movie.
You know what? It's okay.
And I was like, this is so bad. I think the best part about it was Jiminy Cricket, and he's not real.
Jiminy Cricket's better. I can tell you right now, Jiminy Cricket's better in Puss in Boots.
I love him
But
in
you can
Puss in
never-
Boots in The Last Wish. Oh, so good. So funny. I just have to say, I resign.
Oh,
That movie's so good. We got to
It is
talk about The
damn
Last Wish
good.
someday.
Yep.
I mean, because I only made it to. I don't even. How far did I get in?
Fuck, I don't know. I was eating a sandwich.
Geppetto
It's
made
okay.
to the
It
door.
doesn't matter,
He was
Angela.
like
I'm not going
he
to
was
judge
like
you for not
answering
finishing
the
this movie.
door.
This movie
He
is.
was answering the door to whoever was knocking on the door,
Dr.
and
Seuss.
I was like, it's just so bad. Like even the cat CG, and I was like, cats don't sit like
Well,
that.
that's the thing is most animals you're going to see in movies nowadays are going to be CG.
They could have made it more realistic looking.
Yeah,
I'm like,
the visual effects
don't
in this
go-
movie look
when they sit.
so bad. And
Like,
as I
yeah.
stated before, I don't want to harp too much on visual effects because I know the way that Disney and Marvel have been doing visual effects lately, and it's so bad. We just talked about The Lion King and all the issues that The Lion King has. Visually, The Lion King looked really good. It was just everything else was just blah. This movie just looks so. This movie doesn't even feel like it's Disney. Like, where did the money go? Like, what happened? This had $150 budget.
That's a lot of fucking money.
$150 million. It felt like I had $150. And the fact that it was directed by Robert Zemeckis, it just makes it even worse. Because I know that he's a really good. I mean, he's done movies. I mean, he did Roger Rabbit, for fuck's sake. And that movie is one of the best live action / cartoons ever made. Like, there's just no, like, Chippendale Rescue Rangers did a really good job with it, but like Roger Rabbit was just chef's kiss perfection with the way that they were able to do that. And the fact that this is a very similar thing where you have you have human beings interacting with animated, characters, and it looks this bad and it plays this bad. Tom Hanks literally has 4 different accents in this movie. He tries an Italian one. He talks like normal self. Then he like talks in other accents. I'm like, what? I don't know what he think. I don't know what he's doing.
I think I made it that far.
Pinocchio looks horrible. They literally, all they did was they were like, let's just take Pinocchio from the original and just make him 3D. Like, we're not going to change him in any way and make him look like an actual puppet. He's just going to look like he does not belong here at all. Like, it's just so jarring.
Very stand out. Sticks out with thumb in these fucking shots. Dude.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just Jiminy Cricket was okay. I think, there's really not a lot to like about this movie at all. I was so happy when it ended.
I saw he was the best part. When
it ended, I was like, thank fucking God. Like, when you ruin what is the island there? Fantasy Island or the island of Misfit Toy, whatever fucking island they go to, and they all turn to donkeys. You know how terrifying the original one was when you watch it for the first time and you see all the kids turn to donkeys, and you're like, oh, it's nowhere even close in this one.
Baby handed it.
Okay, so they give him. There's ghosts. There's like smoke monsters that like work on the island that like round up all the donkey boys and throw them into cages. And then you got Luke Evans, who played Gaston in Beauty and the Beast. He is the ferry driver. He's the guy who like brings the kids to the island, and then you see him. He actually plays multiple characters because you see him like giving stuff to the kids. Like in this one, of course, they had to get rid of the kids smoking. They were also drinking too. They drank root beer. And ate a lot of candy and got to smash shit, and I was really lame. Yeah, this movie sucks. I don't like saying that about a lot of movies. I like to break down movies in a way that I can, even bad movies, I can see the light in. But this movie is bad from beginning to end. There's no performance where I'm like, oh, that's really good. I like the way they did that. If you want to watch a good Pinocchio movie, watch Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, which is on Netflix right now. Just won an Academy Award for Best Animated Film because it's fucking phenomenal. Stop motion. It's a different interpretation of the story. And yeah, it literally devours this version of Pinocchio. I got to put this one as the new bottom because at least The Lion King looked good. As much as I hate that movie, it looked good. And there were some voice performances that were actually good. Where this is literally, there is no redeeming factor of Pinocchio. It is an actual abomination.
All right.
Sorry.
I'm not going to contest it.
Sorry, no, if there's anyone out there who likes this movie, I apologize for the harsh words, but this is just my opinion. This is what I say. Go out, watch the movie for yourself, form your own opinion. But for me, this movie is horrendous. It's absolutely horrendous.
But there's a screenshot where he's sitting next to a pirate.
I think it's Luke Evans' character, the ferryman, or whatever brings the coachman, whatever.
So ferryman, he looks like a pirate.
He kind of does look like a pirate. Sorry, Luke Evans.
It's just Pinocchio doesn't belong there.
Nope. He looks 100% out of place in this shot, and the other shots I've seen in here too.
Yeah,
just hello.
Like it's just
the real boy.
Yeah, real.
All right. Well, that is it for all of the current live action films that are out. Now we'll run through the ones that are going to be coming out. We're not going to talk about them too much, but we got Peter Pan and Wendy coming out at the end of this month, which is a remake of the 1953 Peter Pan. We have The Little Mermaid coming out in May, which is based on the 1989 animated film. Next year, we have Snow White, which is being directed by Mark Webb, who was the director behind the Amazing Spider-Man movies.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
We have the prequel, Mufasa, The Lion King, coming out in July of next year. We have a Lilo and Stitch movie coming out. There's no dates on that. We have Lilo and Stitch coming out. We have Hercules, which Guy Ritchie's going to be directing.
It's going to suck, I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm. We have a Jungle Book sequel and an Aladdin sequel planned. We have a Hunchback of Notre Dame in the works. We have a Cruella sequel. We have a Tinkerbell movie in the works. Sword in the Stone.
I fucking called it.
Robin Hood, which is based on the 73 Robin Hood, which is all the animals. We have Bambi, which, to be honest, that movie is probably going to be just as bad as The Lion King because it's all animals. I'm sorry, when it's all fucking animals, the Aristocats, which is actually being directed by Questlove, who is part of the Roots. He's part of the band The Roots. He is part of the band for Jimmy Fallon's show, and he also tours and does shit. He just won an Academy Award for Best Short Film a couple years ago.
Means nothing.
And then the one that I hate the fucking most because Dwayne Johnson just wants all that fucking Disney money. We're getting the Moana remake because we don't need it at all. This movie came out 7 years ago. Why? Stop it, Dwayne Johnson. You already fucked up a Black Adam. We don't need this garbage. All right. I digress, guys. All right. Well, let's go over the list one more time before we end the show because this episode went way longer than I thought it would. So at the very bottom, we have Pinocchio because it doesn't belong anywhere else. Actually, I probably should put numbers next to these so I know how many fucking movies we have. Okay, so we have 12 movies we ranked. At the bottom, at number 12, we have Pinocchio. At number 11, we have The Lion King. At number 10, we have Lady and the Tramp. At number 9, we have Cinderella. At number 8, we have Dumbo. At number 7, we have Alice in Wonderland. At number 6, Mulan. Number 5, 101 Dalmatians. Number 4, Beauty and the Beast. Number 3, Aladdin. Number 2, The Jungle Book. And number 1, Maleficent. I did forget a movie because it wasn't on this initial list, but have you guys ever seen the Pete's Dragon remake?
I knew that was on there.
From 2016.
I didn't even like the original Pete's Dragon.
The original Pete's Dragon is weird as fuck. I actually liked the remake that they did. It had Carl Urban in it. It had my girl Bryce Dallas Howard in it. I thought it was a good time. It's one of those ones where I think they didn't add it because the original technically wasn't full animation. So I guess we won't add it to our list because I don't want to have to fuck all that up. Yeah. I think it's a good movie. Who directed that one? So it's based on the 77 film.
So when that came out, I thought it was older than that.
Yeah, the original one had Mickey Rooney in it.
It did.
Mm-hmm.
Jiminy Jillikers.
So the remake, it had Bryce Dallas Howard, Wes Bentley, Carl Urban, and Robert Redford was in it.
Mickey Rooney's my Santa Claus. I'm just gonna let y'all know that right now. Not that asshole for Rudolph.
Yeah, so that's about it for our rankings. Do you guys agree or disagree? Let us know in the comments down below. Let us know on Twitter at Dissect That Film if we were wrong, and or just yell at us and say you shouldn't have done this because you didn't watch half the fucking movies.
Yes, and I'll take the heat for it. I'll take the fucking heat.
Whatever, guys, we did it. What's over with?
Yeah, I said I'll take the heat for not watching the movies.
I gotta get my VHS.
Reach. Shelf just falls off.
I'm so excited, guys. We are going back to we're going back to doing movies that aren't Disney. We're going to be going back to Disney because it is like we said, it's the 100th anniversary of Disney, the animation studio, and all that. And as much as people dislike Disney has been a huge part of my life, and has probably been a huge part of Dan and Angela's lives. I think it's been a huge part of a lot of people's lives. Growing up with these amazing animated films, and a lot of the things that they've done even in the past, 10, 20 years. We're going to be venturing, though, into more of their side stuff because we did mention how the next franchise we're going to be covering is Pirates of the Caribbean because Curse of the Black Pearl is celebrating its 20th anniversary. But we're also going to be covering other movies that are celebrating anniversaries, which brings me to my next point and talking about what we're going to be talking about next week. We're going to be joined by two hilarious ladies from one of my favorite podcasts, The Doom Generation. And we're going to be talking about a movie that is celebrating its 30th anniversary this year. And it's crazy to think about. This is the first time that this actor has ever been talked about on the show, as he is one of my favorites, one of the funniest men alive. We're going to be talking about the 1993 Mrs. Doubtfire, starring Robin Williams and Sally Field, Pierce Brosnan. And I'm so excited, not just to talk about this movie and talk about Robin Williams, who, like I said, he is one of the funniest human beings to ever grace the earth. And the fact that this is the first one we're ever going to talk about with Robin Williams, it just blows my mind. We're over 100 episodes in, and we've never talked about a Robin Williams movie. But also, we're going to have Nicole and Tessa from Doom Generation podcast. They are two of the, like I said, the funniest people in the podcasting world. They're hilarious. You need to go listen to their show right now. And it's going to be fun to have them on to talk about this movie. Do we have anything else that you guys want to add before we step away?
No, I think that's it.
Oh, actually, I do want to. I kind of want to start doing this in the beginning, but it's too late for that now, so I'm going to do it. We didn't do comments this week, so don't need to worry about that. But we did get a new patron, Eric Stein. Thank you for becoming a family member of the Patreon and supporting us here, and hopefully you'll enjoy your early access to our weekly episodes. And thank you to all the other patrons that we have. Thank you so much for all the support, and thank you to everybody who listens. We definitely do it because you guys keep coming back every week and listening to our shows. I know it's not going to be what you want to listen to every week because there are going to be some movies you might not care about, but hopefully our conversation will drag you in even to the worst movies out there. But all I know is that this episode is going to be fucking amazing. So make sure to tune into that. But yeah, you guys have anything before we step away?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, you can find us at Dissect That Film on all the social medias. You can find if you want, you can send us an email on, if you just say hi, if whatever, we're at dissectthatfilm@gmail.com. You can, of course, sign up for Patreon for just $1. You can get our episodes almost a week early. I usually post the episodes on Patreon on Mondays. We release normally on Fridays. So for $1, you can get our episodes early. We will be creating some more content with some more tiers. So stay tuned for that. We're going to have some extra reviews, doing some commentary tracks, doing some watch-alongs on movies, and doing some fun stuff over there. We got some great guests coming up. I'm not going to name them all like I did last week, but like I said, Doom Generation next week is going to be a fucking great time. Dan and Angela, all their links are going to be down in the description because it's usually how this works.
Yes.
He remembers. I don't.
Yeah. I think that's about it. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Until next time, I am Brett Parker. That is Dan and Angel of DNA Gaming. We are Dissect That Film, and this has been the Dissect That Film podcast, episode 105. We'll see y'all again next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.